Is April 14th, 2022. Can you imagine, either at elementary school or high school or college or university programs, where the students complain so much having to do the work that the cultures adapt because they don't want to lose students, that they do what I'm doing right now? Is the teacher reads the reading material in class. Hopefully the students not on their phone or paying attention, and will stand the entire procedure so as to maybe hope that they are assimilating something useful for the generations that they'll be living in. And this is pretty much what I'm doing now. And again, I've had teachers tell me in programs that they get complaints from the faculty because the students say there's too much to do and there's too much work in reading, and it's the same thing they've been given for 20 years. Like, let's say, to work with early years age groups, is the students are saying, hey, that's too much for us to learn, and it's getting worse every year. So the students are participating in the dumbing down of themselves, and of course it's sadly a positive socio-cybernetic feedback loop, because then they're working with kids who will again create an even dumber generation. And the faculties of these programs think about this. So they're all participating in this. So this is what I'm participating in too now, but it's just to keep a promise. Except the difference is I'm not collecting money or elitism, and I have no office. I'm just house sitting here. I don't own a couch. I don't own a functioning refrigerator. I'm very close to being bankrupt if I cared about the process of declaring bankruptcy, and that's when you care about the process of credit. Again, like David Suzuki said, economics is a form of mental illness that I do not suffer from, which is why I'm giving this course for free now and doing the readings for you. And I'm getting more and more people they don't realize that they're acting as if they want me to think for them or feel and process their feelings for them. And when I kind of point out that that's what I'm doing, it's a counterattack to me to say, hey, that's insulting. Well, review your behaviors objectively, and you can't. So ask somebody else to do it that you trust, if you know how to trust people, to be objective, if you can find somebody that can do that. And review our interactions or a video you might agree to, and you'll see, you want me to live your life for you. And when I point out that you are incapable of managing your own life, you get back to me about it. So anyways, I'm filming this video now. It'll be, remember, the third year is the last, because your species has made me stop believing in the concept of humanism, like you could solve your own problems. But I am committing to a promise that I delivered to myself, because nobody's there with the same levels of accountability than I am. That would be finding the elusive Homo sapien. And so I'm doing this course for the last time, and I'm giving you in a lot of videos these reading materials. I was at the beginning of page 8, which is one of the first reading material for my letter where I fired my Vancouver Island University faculty. All right. I would like to refer you to various earthquake prediction scenarios, as well as the Vancouver Island Community Research Alliance's discussion paper from 2011, in which VIU collaborated. Academics who only talk the talk and don't walk the talk may not be very popular as respected professionals if a widely predicted high-impact earthquake occurs anytime soon. If indeed Vancouver Island has food supplies for only 2 days, what will the VIU cafeteria serve its clients in order to make a profit once the ferries and cargo ships are toppled by a tsunami? How much of your program's focus would continue to remain solely on tourism then? You might have to actually remove all your parking lots and start planting food for these international students that you collect a lot of money from, without really quality education, because I don't think you have a union that can be trusted to kick the teachers out at the end of every semester and do a survey for the students to evaluate the teachers and the course and the program. I don't think you do that at Vancouver Island University. You didn't when I was there. And I write this here because Um, it's concepts like pushing money down and up and making this big divide that makes it that Vancouver Island, that can grow food, is more dependent on the mainland, right? It's the supply chains that are formed to make your proto-societies even more fragile and therefore more likely to crash in devastating ways, while you have the responsibility of other people's children in Canada on Vancouver Island. So you know this, we've discussed this, and yet teachers and administrators at these universities or in elite positions in politics or business continue to do this. So when you say, yeah, that's wrong, but that's what I'm going to keep doing because there's momentum, but I don't suffer from HSD or anything. Right now there's a group that I connect with every year or so who believe they're already systems thinkers, and they believe my intelligence is below theirs, and yet every year I document the evidence of trying to teach them the beginning of skill sets to become systems thinkers, and I fail every time. And I have to kind of shove it down their throat a little bit more every time I try to see, because I can't have literally nothing to teach them just to have social interactions. So if my goal is a longitudinal study with them to see, can they actually become 10% systems thinkers, these people that already claim to be, and that nobody challenges them on it? Well, this year, the data is going to be a little bit more transparent than they would have liked. And my goal is not to replace them in their big offices or whatever it might be in their image. My goal is to actually be part of the solution on this planet. But I tell you, if you don't address HSD as a species, it's pretty much doomed. A multifaceted effort to increase self-reliance, such as the one suggested in my time capsule appendix, could serve as an effective model for other communities to increase their own self-reliance. In its most ambitious manifestation, one could imagine an ongoing series of Muslim, Master of Arts, Sustainable Leisure Management projects by which students would be evaluated on their advocacy or activism efforts under the umbrella of this island regionalism project. These students would make excellent, well-prepared leaders should the big one occur and isolate Vancouver Island. Hopefully, these lifelong learners turned leaders would then be awarded honorary PhDs a few years down the line to compensate for their inability to attend school, as real-world activism and necessary learning took priority, much as is the case with myself. By the way, they did offer me an honorary PhD in humanics, except they don't know it. They don't know that my prediction of their lack of quality would reflect in that way happen. They don't realize this, because they'd have to be present in the reality of their lives and the impact that their interactions have on creating their cultures. They don't have this. I have the evidence for this. They're just woohoo. They're momentum zombies, automatons, right? This ongoing venture for succeeding your classes could bring about world-changing effects. With the department's full support in regard to connecting with the media, other universities, advocacy activist groups, and political agencies, measurable results could see participating students literally save the world. Now, wouldn't that justify a graduate degree, while simultaneously reassessing the value of acquiring such a graduate degree? And by the way, if a graduate degree is in business, for me it's not even worth a high school diploma. So here's my definition following, okay? It's in bolder character. A unique island in which its human residents learn to become the voice for the rocks, the oceans, the atmosphere, all life, and most importantly, future system health and resilience, manifested through lifelong learners of natural world sciences and lifestyle entrepreneurs who help ensure that leisure becomes a way of life for all and without a permanent cost to the system. This, for me, is the true meaning of sustainable leisure management. It'd be interesting in a research if somebody does their thesis on how the program changed after my presence in it in the first cohort, and how maybe this kind of definition, because nobody ever agreed on a definition of this term sustainable leisure management in the program among the teachers and whoever else they were associated with. Not unlike my experiences with the VIU badminton team, where I felt used, bullied, harassed, disrespected, violated. Anyways, that's not part of the letter, but not unlike my experience, it will be when we go to court. Not unlike my experiences with the VIU badminton team, where there was no recognition of one's personal development, I felt I received only feeble support towards manifesting all of which I was capable regarding my own journey towards self-actualization, one of my human rights, within your program. This was particularly the case during my SLIM 606 and SLIM 607 courses. So again, that's Nicole Vaugeois and Aggie Hill. Perhaps this explains my desire at the time to take a break from the graduate program and register in Geology 111, Discovering Planet Earth. During this geology course, I was able to exercise all of my skills, an opportunity which was lacking in the cultural paradigm of my graduate program. As per my natural inclination, during this first year course, I took advantage of the opportunity to mentor a classmate. She was a student new to university and struggling from anxiety related to uncertainties surrounding her upcoming academic responsibilities. Can you imagine that this week I heard part of a commercial on the radio, and it's a radio station that is feel-good related, that is John Tesh regurgitate outdated counterproductive paradigms kind of thing, right? It doesn't deal with news. It's news, when they deliver news, it is as light and without depth or accuracy or reality as much as possible, and try to pull as much good feelings from it. It is really, really ridiculous. It makes me think this is not what an adult person would be talking like. But on that station, I heard the part of an ad that kind of says that if you suffer from an eco, reality-related mental illness of what is happening now that you're aware of, if your own country like Canada releases that kind of news easily to you or not, when they have it, is take Earth Day off as a mental health day from work or school. I think that's what the ad said. I only heard part of it from a different room. But if it is, it's still too little too late. Like, you think you're taking steps forwards here, but no. Although it's forwards, it's many more steps backwards were taken if this is the first time the ad is showing now. It's ridiculous. So I wanted to say as well that this course that I took, which was an additional fee, because I'm still paying a semester in a graduate program, I had to pay this course. It's to get away from the elitism that is more there at the graduate and PhD level. And elitism ruins education, by the way, in case nobody noticed. I'm pretty sure there's plenty of research about it, though. They'd have to be done outside their own universities so they don't lose their titles. But, that's actually what I did. So it's an additional fee just to get away from the toxicity before finishing with a graduate diploma, because I had no peers to do a thesis defense anyways, and they were quite happy to give it to me as one of the first ones to get it without doing the thesis. The thesis draft introduction actually is a reading that I will do at a later time as part of this course that I'm now giving to you, that I've called Master of Science in Ecocentric Worldviews. Okay. By the way, there are other programs I've noticed in the world that has the same letters, but believe me, it's more related to anthropocentrism or shallow ecology or business world, right? It's easy to see. Even with the person I interviewed in one of my classes, they're noticing that we're taking steps backwards in developing a deep ecology worldview, and it's something really to save ourselves from destroying the planet, which means from killing ourselves. It really would have needed to already be the dominant paradigms of all university programs, really, or at least for kids to have had it in high school before, getting to university, so that their ingrained worldviews at that important age would already be hard to dislodge if the business world tried to, take the humanity out of them. So that would have been needed to be done, 60, 70 years ago. And that's an example of telling you, based on the toxins and pollution and imbalances that you bring onto not just your world, but all other stakeholders and species that have existed before you and that are a lot more important for the evolution of life on this planet than you are. The only thing important about you related to the evolution of life is to get rid of you, because you are the only ones hurting the concept of life at levels like this. Even when bacteria came out that changed the total composition of the atmosphere, it was still for the evolution of life on this planet. You are the only devolvers at a global scale that ever existed on this planet. So that's your legacy. So bravo, you must be very, very proud. My efforts, again, this student that I helped in the class, my efforts were recognized by both our geology professor, whom I admired for including the Gaia theory in his curriculum, which I also mentioned in my letter of introduction of myself and what I wanted to research in my letter to enter the program, but also in some of my assignments. And I had to force teachers to read it. And all they could say, oh, that was interesting. As well as VIU's bursary and award committees. I also include a letter of reference from said student. And that's Appendix 2, which will be read later on. Okay, I'm stopping now. This is just the beginning of page 6. And it's just that I'm talking at the same time, and I don't want the videos to be long. If somebody had had the courage to receive this and read it, there's quite a lot of space between the lines. It wouldn't take that long to read it if they sit down and want to read it. But I'm reading it at my pace to you, explaining it at the same time, because we're many years later now. And this is an example of this common sense from back then escaping the problem solving of modernity even more. And this is what my time capsules often talk about, is you have the evidence, you have the solutions, you just don't want to apply them. So everything comes back to this. What's wrong with your species? Again, a lot of my videos talk about this. So you're welcome for these free teachings. You can ignore them some more, and that is okay.